Well, good morning, ladies. It is Candace Porter. Listen, it is Tuesday morning, and you know what Tuesday morning means for us here at Sister Biz. That means it is go time. Woo! I don't know about you ladies, but I am just like over the moon about what's been happening over these last couple of weeks in the community. I'm just taking a little bit of a deep breath. I'm settling in because today's conversation is going to be one for the books. Welcome to Sister Let's Talk Biz Live, the show where we give Black women founders the real talk, the strategies, and the real support to build, scale, and secure the what? The bag. Ladies and some gentlemen, I am your host, Candace Porter, the Sister Biz community engagement host, and I am so glad that you are here. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, just like Stevie Wonder said, okay? So if you've been tuning in for the last 4 episodes, we're on episode 5 today, okay? Can you guys believe we're on episode 5? Like that time, went by, and I really hope that you have been getting the nuggets that have been dropped every single week. You already know we are not playing any games when it comes to this political landscape. It's all over the place. Every day it's something new. Policies are changing, and let's be real. Let's be real quick. Our businesses, contracts, and intellectual properties are non-exempt from the shakeup, okay? So all the things that we've been working hard for and investing money in, they're not exempt. Okay. That's why in this particular episode that we're getting ready to get into, we're getting down to the legal nitty gritty. Okay. We are in a season where our businesses are being targeted, and just one wrong move, y'all, just one wrong move could cost you absolutely everything that you've put your hard work into, right? So, whether it's DEI rollbacks, contract loopholes, or protecting your brand, staying on top of your legal business is literally a non-negotiable. So we've got some powerhouse legal experts coming in. We have Kisha Brown and Faith Mitton there in the building. They're going to break it all down. When I bring them in, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and tell them what they do and how we are going to be able to learn from what they do. Okay, ladies, listen, I want to make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. It is on and popping. If you can actually do that in real time, we would love to see you be a part of our community. We want you to be counted. So if you are not subscribed, I invite you to go ahead and do that right now. It just takes literally half of a second to press that button and make sure that you get the notification every Tuesday, and just for all the goodies that's on there in general. Ladies, be sure to stick with us until the end, okay? We've got a free legal checklist and some quizzes and just some amazing items that are going to be able to help you navigate this legal atmosphere. Now, I know that you're probably thinking, oh, legal, it just makes my stomach go into knots. But listen, it's something that's real. We got to get into these real conversations, and we're going to do that today. So, ladies, as per usual, I would love to bring to the stage the founder of this amazing organization, Sister Biz. So if you can light up the comment section with some clap emojis and some celebration as I introduce my girl, Coach K. Good morning, Coach K.
Good morning, my sis. How are
Well,
you?
how you doing this morning?
I'm good. It's nice outside.
Oh, honey.
I'm
Let
here with
me,
the live stream so we can go somewhere.
yes. You better take a sip of whatever you're drinking, and I love to hear that. Like, you got on your spring colors, and I love to see that.
You too. I
Ladies,
see you. The earrings are popping. The earrings are
listen, we,
popping.
we just gotta add a little splash of something,
Just
right?
flashing for real.
We splashing. Now, this segment of the show is called Sis, Did You Hear? Okay. This is the part where we come together, we talk about what's really going on in real time, current events, because you already know we cannot run a business in a vacuum. I love that. You know what? In a vacuum, Coach K. Okay, so we are going to talk about a couple of things. All right. I just want to know. You already touched on it a little bit, Coach K. We have springed forward. Okay, the time has changed. We get a little more sunlight during the day, and I just want to know, like, does this affect you, Coach K? Because I know it be tearing me up.
When the time
Daylight savings. I'm sorry, daylight savings.
I think when it goes darker, I do have a little bit of like seasonal depression or
Okay.
some version of that where I just don't like it getting dark earlier.
Sure.
And so when the sun starts to come out and it's lighter again, I get excited.
Yeah. I love when it's like around 6 and the sun is still out. I'm here for that. That calls for a patio for me. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm like, get me on a patio at that time. Okay. But Coach K, there's also some blackouts still happening. We know that, we're still boycotting certain places. And I don't know if you've seen, like, I had seen this here recently, that they are currently in real time right now dismantling and taking up the Black Lives Matter sign that was, or not the sign, the street that was right in front of maybe the White House. You know, the Black Lives Matter street, and it was literally painted on. They are literally taking that up right now. Can you believe it? The workers are out there taking that street, destroying it so that it won't say that anymore. And when I seen that, I said, wow, this is really something. I'm like, this is really happening. But in addition to that, there was something that was going on with Carol's daughter. Okay. I seen something.
Wait, you ain't moving past that.
No, I just wanted to see.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
When I seen it, because I remember when it was first painted on the street. If I'm not mistaken, that's right in front of the White House. Do I have that right? I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't remember the exact location, but what I know is that they steady trying to erase us. They steady trying to erase our legacy, our history, what they did to us, what we've been through, what we've contributed, but they can't.
They cannot.
They cannot.
They
so
can't.
Go on and spray down your little chalk off the ground. We're going to be back. We ain't going nowhere. George Floyd's legacy is still alive. Black Lives Matter is still alive. So keep trying.
That's right, Coach K. Thank you for speaking to that. When I seen it, I was just like, wow, I cannot believe this is where we're at, but this is where we're at. And in real time, right? Like they're doing that right now. So anyway, Carol's daughter. Now, I know that Carol's daughter was a staple back in the day, like when the natural curl movement, the natural hair movement was coming out. We were in Carol daughter's streets, all right? And I was like, give me all the things to make my curls pop. But I do know that over the years, some things had happened and we didn't really see Carol's daughter, but if we did, it wasn't like how it used to be. And now Carol's daughters are back in the news. And I just talk to me.
Wait. So Carol's daughter ain't never go nowhere, but but there's like mixtape Carol's daughter. So like that mixtape that's in the streets, and then there's like the official Columbia Records Carol's daughter when she got bought and she went into the stores. Mixtape Carol's daughter was fire. I don't know about any of y'all, but I remember Jamaican Punch. I remember, they still got the Mimosa Hair Honey apparently, but it's not in all the stores. It's not as easily accessible. She used to have the strawberry thing, this pineapple spray. She was killing it. And the quality, you could just see it felt so homemade. You got a lot. You got a sufficient amount, I should say. But typically when you sell to larger companies, because they actually understand cost of goods sold, and they're also very much colonized, you get smaller amounts and the formulas change to add preservatives and all the things and cheaper ingredients. And so it did, you did see a change in the menu and a change in the experience of Carol's daughter. But I think most of us, we really were loving and attached to mixtape Carol's daughter is what I call it. And so like the Ron G tapes, remember them?
You got it, Ron G. You so New York, Coach K. Look at, she be telling on herself. She's so New York, and I'm here for it. But what would you like to say about what's going on right now? Like, what would you just like to talk to us about with this?
So, a lot of people was hating on her when she sold. And I have some thoughts about that. I don't want to take up too much time, but the short of it is you can't be mad at Black business, like supporting Black businesses when they build and scale, and then like calling them sellouts when they sell. Like, I mean, they can, but I just feel like generational wealth and through the lens, and when it's connected to entrepreneurship, acquisition is a reality. Like, selling is a success for your family and your generations. And sure, there are some nuances that need to be cared for, like, thinking about the formulas of your products and all those sorts of things and how they impact the customers you serve and all that stuff. But I do think that it really depends on if everybody's on the same page, that the end goal is for us to build wealth in the Black community and what that looks like. And a lot of these businesses, when they build wealth like that, they turn right back around and pour it into the community. They turn right back around and they engage other founders to help them reach where they have gone as well. And so it's not all about them. It's about the fact that they're able to break generational curses, bring people up behind them, pour wealth into the Black community, and ultimately be able to achieve a level of wealth that they would never if they were independent. So I would just want to call that out. Like, I definitely don't see eye to eye with a lot of people that try to call businesses like that a sellout. And in fact, I think it hurts our ability to reach those levels of success in the community. That said, her going back to independent ownership is going to be so interesting to watch, because I think that she probably achieved a level of learning and understanding and resource building and networking and just the mass production and that experience. I want to see how it informs the way she turns to being an independent owner. I bet that's going to be super interesting. And I just love that she got her company back to that state after having the benefit of the growth and the scale. And now it's coming back to her. And I want my Jamaican punch, Lisa. Lisa.
You better get
Jamaican punch for Kisha. Jamaican punch and the pineapple spray. I got a list. I'm gonna send it to you.
You better listen. You better get up front and personal and ask for what you need, because listen, that is how it goes. And I'd love to hear your perspective, Coach K, because sometimes we don't think about that. We've heard this with a couple of our Black founders, right? That they have sold it and then maybe they're gonna, but I love what you're saying. It is about generational wealth, like however we get there. And I love that, Coach K. Now, send her Jamaican punch, please. All right. And the pineapple. All right. She's acting nicely.
And that hair, she used to have that hair conditioner that was literally herbs. It was herbs in a can. You were supposed to boil it and it was going to, for your, okay.
That sounds, she's back. And we're happy to hear that. Now,
because I used to sell Carol's Daughter in my spa. When she first came out, mixtape Carol's Daughter, we were selling it in Yaya Spa.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at the fact that you keep calling it mixtape Carol's Daughter, and I'm here for that. But so you have a personal connection with this. Like, you used to sell this in your
before
spa.
They stopped it. They didn't let little us sell it after they moved into Macy's and stuff. They didn't let small boutique spas and businesses sell it anymore. But once they started to expand and scale. But when she was first out of Brooklyn, mixtape, I was here in Denver, and because I had the connection back home, we found out about it pretty early on and started selling it.
Ooh, listen, unity in the community, and I'm here for that, okay? Now, Coach K, listen, we're going to move past this particular segment, but one thing that I do know is that Carol's daughter needed to have some lawyers in place for all of this transition and this movement and this picking up and putting down and picking back up. So I am so happy to know that today we are going to be talking to some lawyers, some Black powerhouse female lawyers in the house today. I'm sorry, what'd you say? Go ahead.
And their Sister Biz members.
And their Sister Biz members. Like, this is what I love. Like, they're connected. And this conversation is about to get even more richer because these ladies are about to come in and drop some nuggets on us with this legal terminology, but in a way that actually makes sense for us, right? So I am going to bring to the stage Faith, Mitton, and Kisha Brown. Can we go ahead and give it up in the comment section for them? Woo, woo! Ladies, good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Yes.
And Kisha, I'm sorry, Kisha, I want to just hear how you're doing today. You doing good?
I am all good. It is all good. Sorry, I tried to join the chat and then it messed up my whole system. So hopefully you can hear me pretty good. I know. See, I was trying to get too much. I saw all the comments and I was like, I want to talk with y'all too, but we'll talk later, I guess.
Yeah. No worries. Ladies, I want to give you all an opportunity to introduce yourself and let us know about your business and what you do. So Faith, can you let us know about Faith?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today. It's actually afternoon here in New York where I am based, but my name is Faith Mitton, and I'm the managing attorney of Mitton Law Firm PLLC. We are a trademark law boutique, which means that all we do all day, every day is trademark law. So we help clients register their trademark with the USPTO. We help them enforce their trademark rights when someone infringes on their brands. And of course, a trademark is something that protects a brand, like your name, tagline, logo, etc. We help clients with licensing and with dispute resolution. So if they need to oppose someone else's trademark application or cancel a trademark registration that's blocking theirs, we help with all of that and work with clients from all over the country, not just in New York. So no matter where you are, if you need trademark assistance, keep Mitton Law in mind.
Okay, Faith. Now you better come on here. You know what? Of course you're from New York. Like I keep on telling Coach K that I'm from New York, but it's okay. So we're all family here today. We're all from New York, and that's good. Yes. So I'm not from New York, but thank you so much for.
We claim you anyway, sis.
Period. Oh, okay, do you hear that?
You're feeding the monster, Faith.
Yes. So Faith, thank you so much. We cannot wait to hear more from you and just your expertise and wisdom today. Kisha, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and what you do.
Yes, well, I guess I need to start with I'm from New York, Queens in the house, right? And so
it's a setup.
Yes, I remember going to her shop in Brooklyn and being able to buy it firsthand. That's right. And I had the pleasure actually of speaking with Lisa at a Black Women's Conference 2 years ago. And I asked her, I said, how were lawyers instrumental in the development and the success of your business? And she said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the lawyers who were on my team. Ooh. Right. And I got a whole great quote from her because we need to hear, all throughout her story, not just when she was making her big move, right, to be acquired, if you will, in whatever capacity, but every step of the way she talked about it. And even before she had the money to hire folks full out, being able to have friends or family or acquaintances or board members or whomever that she gathered to sort of be able to give her that legal advice along the way. So, but my name is, Kisha Brown, and I am the founder and CEO of Justice Connection. We're the first Black attorney. We're the Black Lawyers Directory, essentially, right? And it was really created for it to be a one-stop shop for people to be able to find top Black attorneys around the country because, right, we need it. We need attorneys at our kitchen cabinet, and we have an interesting sort of relationship with the law sometimes, right? We think about it in the defensive or the reactive sense, and In this country, especially now, we need to make sure that we have the legal resources that we need for our family, whether it's on the business side. And as business owners, we're expected to know all the things. So it might be civil rights, it might be estate planning, it might be business succession planning, it might be family law, it might be a car accident, but you got to have the connect to the right legal resource. And so that's what I've built with Justice Connection.
Beautiful. Ladies, thank you so much for that. I'm just really excited to dig in, right? Because we have a lot to cover today. But before we get started, I do want to give a quick disclaimer, all right? While we do have two incredible legal experts with us today, this conversation is for educational and informational purposes only. All right. This is not legal advice, and every business situation is different. So if you have any specific legal questions about your business, make sure to consult with a licensed attorney who can advise you based on your unique circumstances. All right. So I just wanted to kind of give that disclaimer. And now I am ready to move in. Coach K, I know you got the comment section. So just know that the comments are not going to be ignored. There's actually going to be an opportunity near the end to ask a question to our two legal experts today. So be thinking about what you want to ask while we're going through this time. So let's get started, ladies. Let's start with something that many founders may be considering, changing a business name to less DEI, because we know that this is a thing right now in this political climate. So what can you say to that? What are some legal considerations founders should keep in mind when deciding between a legal name versus just filing a DBA? So Faith, can we start with, I'm sorry.
Let me give some context to this question.
Yeah.
If DEI rollbacks continue to move in the direction that they're moving, there could be a very real possibility that certain language will actually prevent you from being able to access certain resources or funding. And so similarly, back in the 90s, when I was involved with affirmative action in higher ed, government contracting, all that stuff, a lot of times funding was, predicated on your ability to use language that wasn't race-based in order to access funding or resources. And so as we return to that space, and generally, even outside of that, I think over my entire 30-year career, people told me not to name my nonprofit Foundation for Black Entrepreneurship. And this is well after affirmative action season. And so I just want to get a sense of, and people say that in your grant writing, you can't say Black or use race, you can say under-resourced or underserved. And so that reality is starting to come back. Those conversations are starting to come back. And some founders or organizations may be considering what it looks like to shift the language in the way they communicate who they are, what they do. And in that case, that may include name changes and that sort of thing. So I would love both of your unfiltered opinions on first, the name change reality and what you should be thinking about, if you should be thinking about that, and how you're thinking about that.
Yes. Thank you for that, Coach K. And we'll start with Faith.
Yeah, so I will tackle sort of what the legal mechanics look like. I believe my sister Kisha is going to talking about sort of the analysis that goes into why you change your name, or what considerations you should take into account. But let's talk a little bit about the mechanics if you decide that you want to do this anyway. And one thing I do have to say, particularly for Black entrepreneurs, is that we tend to use the word Black a lot in our branding. And that's great because it helps people to identify us as Black, but it kind of, I'm looking at this as a trademark lawyer, right? It is a descriptive term that no one can own. And so we like to think of trying to choose names that are a bit more creative because they can qualify for stronger trademark protection. If you're going to think about changing your name, the first thing you have to think about is, can I own the name that I want to change, right? Because you don't want to select something that's going to be a problem for you and embroil you in litigation or disputes down the line. So the first thing for you to consider is, okay, how do I choose a name that resonates with my community, that isn't descriptive, that will entitle me to the broadest possible legal protections? And then when you decide what that name is, because it takes work and effort to figure that out, then you have to decide, how do you want to incorporate that into the infrastructure of your business? Do you want there to be a complete shift in the identity of your business by changing the legal name? Or do you just want to tack something on to what you're already doing? So if you're changing the legal name, then you'd be actually going into the legal documents and making amendments. And that means changing your identity across the entire board, your tax filings, your contracts, your marketing, et cetera. It becomes a whole big to-do. The other option is to file a DBA. And a DBA is just an alias for your existing business. So it doesn't have as much legal legwork that you have to deal with compared to changing your legal name. But you want to consider, as I said from the top, can you change to the name that you want from a trademark perspective, and then decide how you want to do the change, whether it's a full change to your identity or just adding on an alias. And then I do want to say that if you do find that your name that you do want to change to is available to trademark, please do go ahead and trademark it as soon as you can. I have encountered so many entrepreneurs who came up with something that was unique, that was fantastic, and they did not secure trademark protection in advance and ended up losing the ability to use the name that meant so much to them. So just be mindful of the different mechanics that are involved from a legal perspective as you consider a name change.
Thank you so much for that, Kisha.
That was great. I love listening to intellectual property lawyers because she just dropped so many gems and great insight for, we think, oh, I'm just going to change the name. Nah, you're not just going to change the name. It's the whole thing that goes with it. So Faith is amazing. So, the question around, do you change your name because there are DEI words that have been identified, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, because let's say what DI means, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion. We're not talking about anything crazy here, just literally those 3 types of words, and whether your website or your name emits all of those things, and whether you're fearful about losing funding or being sued, like the Fearless Fund. I know someone mentioned that in the chat. I think it all depends. Right? If you are a baker in, Baltimore or in Phoenix or you sell cookies at your farmer's market, do you need to worry that you've got a black girl bakery, right? Mm-hmm. And that they're going to come and shut you down? Like, that's not really what is at hand. I think there's a lot of fear mongering, right? And intentional chaos that is being created that really don't connect to what Faith is talking about as it relates to intellectual property rights and what's in a name and how your name emotes one thing or the other. I think that the federal government, right, which the new president is making executive orders, and he has the right to make executive orders. Now, it doesn't make his executive orders all in line with the law, ironically, right? Because we think that you, the president, then somebody give you clearance to put this out, and didn't anybody spell check this before it went out? But they have stretched and crossed lines, and there's a lot of litigation going on around what they can and cannot do, and we are all figuring that out in real time, if you will. Mm-hmm. I think depending on who you speak to, an attorney might tell you, hey, play it safe, scrub everything. Don't use all the words that were listed in the recent New York Times or the article that came out. Another lawyer might say, you're fine. You can say the word diversity. That is not illegal. You can say the word equity. That is not illegal. You can say the word inclusion. That is not illegal. DEI is not illegal, right? Even though they're making it seem as if it is. So nobody can sue you because of that. And they cannot deny you equal opportunity because you're using a word that they don't like, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that is, I think, thrown out there that is very confusing for the average person to decipher. State and local government funding is not the same as federal funding, right? And is not the same as private funding. So even though an executive order talked about private companies can't do X, Y, and Z, that is a bit of a stretch for the federal government to now tell a private company that, right? And it's also a stretch for another private company to tell another private company, right? I can't do business with you because you got too many Black people on your website, right? Like that's not okay, right? Or I can't do business with you because you're Black owned and DEI, so I'm gonna have to cancel this contract. That is not okay either, right? So there's a lot that is being thrown out there, and if you have any doubt, then I definitely suggest speaking with an attorney, right? And being able to get some clarity on what's permissible and what's not. And I know we're gonna get I won't jump ahead, Candace, because I know that we have a lot to talk about, but there are definitely a number of resources out there to be able to assist folks in this process.
That's right, Kisha. And I thank you for that, because what I hear is that there's just so much fear being instilled in us. Like, you to be careful, don't do this, don't do that. So to hear you saying like, there's still limits to what this is, I really do appreciate that, because I feel like that is what is so heavy. Like, oh, you better not do that, or you better not do this. So I really appreciate that perspective and just that knowledge, Kisha. Faith, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about intellectual property. So there may be someone in the chat that's like, what is intellectual property? And do I even have any? Because I feel like I hear about intellectual property a lot with like social media and things like that. And so I just wanted to start, before I ask you the next question, if you can just kind of give us a brief overview of what intellectual property even is.
Absolutely. And I think that most of us are creating intellectual property without realizing that we are. This right here is intellectual property. This recording is a type of intellectual property. Intellectual property is just another way to describe the fruits of our creative genius. And so there may be different ways that we express that creative genius and different protections that apply to those different expressions. And it's important for us as Black business owners to know what the scope of intellectual property is, so that we can know what protections to seek when. So just as basic fundamental background, there are 3 core types of IP. Of course, there may be others that we can consider in a more complex conversation, right? But there are 3 core types. We have copyrights, patents, and trademarks. You probably have heard these words before. Copyrights protect creative work. So things like recordings like this, courses, choreography, photographs, etc. Patents protect invention. So whether that could be a tech software that you've created, or an app, or a physical device, it is something that is new into the world that hasn't been done before, and you are introducing it, that can be protected by patent law. Trademarks protect brand identity. So things that help people to recognize your business as a source of a product or service. So that includes things like names, taglines, logos, but it could also include things like product packaging, can include colors or sounds or scents like smells. The trademark universe is pretty significant. So when you are thinking about all the things that you're creating in your business, try to figure out if you can categorize them. Like, do I need a patent for this, or a trademark for this, or a copyright for this? Because you want to ensure that you are taking the appropriate steps to protect intellectual property, because people out here wilding and doing all kinds of stuff, and you don't want to lose what you have created.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you so much. And you just segued me right into my next question. So how do we ensure that we're protecting that intellectual property, especially as like international trade tensions rise and things like that? What can we do in regards to that?
Yeah, I think I want all of us to take a deep breath, because there's a lot of chaotic energy that is happening right now. And I think it's important to just center yourself, like I said, and take stock of what it is that you are doing. focus less on what's happening out there and focus on what it is that you are trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, where you're trying to take your business, because that's going to drive your strategy. And you don't want to necessarily be too reactive to what's happening. You want to be proactive about creating a strategy, first and foremost, with the help of a knowledgeable attorney, right? Not just picking things from what you've heard online. Like, these types of conversations are excellent, but you don't want to limit yourself to them, right? You do want to develop a relationship with an attorney who can help you develop a strategy. But in terms of how you develop that kind of strategy, some things to consider. There are 3 pillars that I always tell folks form the basis of a solid IP protection strategy. That's going to be registration, monitoring, and enforcement. So registration means filing the paperwork with the necessary government agencies to put on record that you own whatever IP that you've decided to register, whether that's a copyright, a patent, or a trademark. And you may consider international registrations if needed, right? Because with a copyright, you don't have to go around country by country registering things. With trademarks and patents, you might need to. So again, you want to make sure you are aligning your IP strategy with whatever it is that you are seeking protection for. So if you're considering moving, for example, and leaving the US, and you are offering services or products in your new country, you may need to seek another type of protection or registration in that country. But once you register your IP, whatever it is, then you want to monitor it to see whether there is someone who is stepping out of line, because it is not the government's responsibility to monitor your trademarks, patents, copyrights, whatever. It's your responsibility as a business owner. So if you find that there is a problem as part of your monitoring, then you have to enforce your rights, whether that's sending cease and desist letters, getting infringing content removed from the internet, initiating litigation, whatever the case may be. With your attorney, you choose a workable strategy that will help you to maximize your protections and to squash any infringement. But those are the 3 things to consider: registering your rights, then monitoring the registered rights, and then enforcing those rights when they are infringed upon.
Wow, Faith, thank you so much for just that IP education and just really schooling us on that. Because it's really important. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. So I'm glad that you educated us on that. Kisha, is there anything that you would like to say about what was just discussed?
I'm dittoing what Faith said on the IP.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure before I moved on, because and Coach K, let me ask you as well. Let me just make sure that I'm covering all my bases here. Is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I just wanted us to have this conversation because a lot of us are exploring leaving the country. And it's not necessarily that we're fleeing in dangerous situations yet. But a lot of us are tired of what's going on here and considering what does it look like to have dual citizenship in other places or explore other places it's happening. And so if you're a business owner, these are real considerations to think about, and imagine yourself moving somewhere else. And then you start to do business there and perhaps start to engage with customers where you are. Then there's a whole new consideration around international trademarks and IP issues that you want to think about. I think, like Faith and Kisha are saying, you want to, this dialogue is to kind of educate you on where there are legal considerations, and then hooking up with an attorney will help you actually sort through and manage those issues and those needs, and the legal services will help you navigate your particular situation. But I do think that if we're leaving the country, or if we're doing international work, it's a whole new level, not just legal, of considerations in managing your business, compliance, other things, regulatory matters that you want to think about. And this is just one of them.
Thank you so much for that, Coach K. Kisha, I do have a question for you, because we are hearing all about DEI rollbacks and boycotts, and they are affecting some of our founders here at SistaBiz. And I just want to ask, what contract and negotiation tips should our founders and any founders be considering now that these programs are being eliminated, especially like in the big box store and retail deals? What would you say about that, Kisha?
Well, one of my first things is going to say to lawyer up. right? If you have a major contract in front of you, that it really does pay to have someone, doesn't actually cost, it pays you, right? To have someone to protect your interests. Because the contract you are receiving is made for the person who gave it to you. That is who the contract is for. It is not for you. So you take a risk in signing something that was not written for you. Now it may be written for your partnership, or may be written for your services and products, but the fundamentals in the contract are made so that the person who had it drafted is okay, right? And it, not to say that it's gonna get you in the end, right? Because you didn't do the contract first, but it does behoove you to have somebody look at it and to be able to just break it down for you. Yeah. Hey, this is a good contract, but I want to let you know, anything that goes wrong, these are the terms, right? You don't get paid for 60 days unless you invoice. They only pay you on the second Tuesday of the third leap year. Are you okay with that, right? Like, it's all in the contract, right? They say the devil's in the details. And, sometimes, I'm not mad at you. You get a good contract. You like, where do I sign, right? I am in there. I'll figure it out on the back end. But when you think about, you have, as Faith said, your creative genius is on the line. Everything that you have poured into is on the line. And every time we sign these contracts, they can derail us. And oftentimes, I know, as Coach K has seen, and I'm sure Faith has as well, a bad contract can derail your entire business, right? Not because you did anything wrong, but the terms were almost impossible for you to meet, right? And so I'll give you an example where a business owner, she was in an accelerator program, and they asked me to speak with her, and she had a contract where the prime said, the contract that she was with said, oh, we've decided to move in a different direction. Mid-contract. So now she's got employees that are all like ready to get paid and having been paid, done work and looking to get paid. She's bought materials. She's done all these things to prepare, and midway in the contract, and they said, nah, we're moving in a different direction, right? And the contract, though, allowed them to do that and made no provision for her having basically robbed Peter to pay Paul, because you are now having these people work, waiting for this money to come in to pay them. But the work is now stopped, but you're now on the hook with all these people, right? And so she had 2 more contracts coming through. I kid you not. That one was for $250,000. The next contract, she had 2 more contracts coming in for over $1 million. And she said, oh, I'm trying to sign these contracts quick so I can get that money to help pay for where I've, come up short on this other contract. And I'm like, sis, you jumping from the frying pan to the, what is it, the stove to the fire. Yeah. Yes, the hot plate, all of it. I said, we got to slow this thing down and get us some review of this contract, because one, you got to figure out, how can I navigate this current contract? And I will tell you, it's now going to cost more, because the situation is more complex on the back end, trying to get out of a bad deal. So one of the best things to do in a negotiation when you're first getting that contract is to pay for a legal consultation that can look at that contract initially. And I'm not trying to tell you to go hire an attorney for 10 stacks and get them on payroll and move them into your, I'm not trying to say, just go have a conversation, a legal consultation. And you show up at that consult ahead of time. Now this is the tip. Before you have the consult, you email the attorney. Oh, I'm looking forward to our consult. Here's my website, a little bit about me. Here's the contract that I was looking to sign, and this is what it means to me. I'm looking forward to speaking to you in a couple of days.
That's good.
But what do you do when you get an email? You open it, you look at it, you read it. Now this person is more prepared to have a conversation to go a little deeper during your consult, right? And you don't have to spend as much time being like, I'm Candace, I like gold earrings, and my business means this, right? They're able to jump right in. Here's the contract. Let's move this thing forward, right? So you got to maximize your time with an attorney. So don't try to maximize your time trying to figure out what your favorite auntie about, is this a good deal?
Yeah.
Take that $350, $400. You about to make $100,000.
Yeah.
$200,000. You about to make $10,000. You better spend $350 to make sure that it's tight, and these people are going to pay you. They're going to pay you on time. They're not going to steal your intellectual property. Everything is protected, right? That is one of the best tips to do. And I know it's not cheap. Lawyers ain't. I'll admit that, but it is an investment in protecting what you have built, and you are worth that investment.
Thank you so much for that. Oh, I just, I was just thinking, like, as you were talking, because we know that we need this, right? But I think that sometimes the fear of the cost, right? Oh, how much is this going to cost? Like, what does this look like? And I know, Faith, yesterday we were talking and we were just kind of discussing, if you don't necessarily have that money to pay or put into a lawyer at this time, you did give us some practical resources that we could use when we get to that point. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, for sure. I want to echo everything that Kisha just said. It was 100% on point. And for those of us who may not be able to work with a private attorney, who don't have the funds right away, there are other options that you might want to consider. Now, as I said yesterday, there is going to be a direct correlation between maybe not direct, but there's going to be a correlation between how much money you spend and the quality of the service that you receive. So keep that in mind. But there may be opportunities for you to find legal counsel pro bono or low bono in the transactional context. By transactional, I mean someone who's going to take a contract and review it for you or help you draft a contract. If you're dealing with a dispute, it's harder to find that kind of support for pro bono or low bono. But if you need help with drafting and reviewing and understanding terms of agreements, you may be able to find support, like I said. So the options that could be available, find out if there is a law school near you with a clinic where student lawyers represent clients under supervision from licensed lawyers. And those kinds of clinics are very useful. They usually have some sort of financial requirements in order to qualify for the free service, but you may be able to find help through something like that. Another option could be a nonprofit legal service organization near you where if you qualify financially, you may be able to get free assistance from an attorney that works for a major law firm or a corporate department, legal department. I did this kind of work when I first started out, where I was helping people find lawyers in these large organizations because they couldn't afford to pay a private attorney. So these kinds of resources exist. And so look to see what is available near you that is free if you qualify for free legal services. If you don't qualify for free legal services, there may still be other options, right? So I know that many bar associations have a type of referral program where you can sign up to have an initial consultation. At least my bar association does. You can sign up for an initial consultation for a very low price, and then go from there to have a full relationship with the attorney that is a fixed fee, where you're not necessarily paying hourly and the fees are agreed upon in advance. So look to local bar associations near you to see if they have a similar program, or even if you find an attorney that you really like, who you feel is particularly qualified to help you and has a personality that you jive with, right? There are attorneys who offer payment plans, who offer financing options, even, so that you can spread out the cost of legal services over a longer period of time than a couple of weeks. It could be up to 2 years, right? My firm does that for clients. But the point is to be resourceful and find opportunities to get the help that you need. Don't just assume, oh, I can't afford it, so I'm just gonna, trudge through however I can. Look to see what is available. And I'm happy to chat with people who need help figuring out where to find these kinds of affordable resources, because I know that it can be a challenge and you may not know where to start. And someone in the industry is more likely to be able to help you find that than you just Googling something online. So I don't know how to get my information to people, but if there's a way for us to do that, I'm happy to have those kinds of conversations with folks too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ladies, thank you so much. We want to transition because on the tail of what you said, Faith, there may be some questions that our audience may have about anything legal. And I want to allow an opportunity right now for them to kind of get into. Coach K, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to call out that in the chat, Chris Johnson said difference in investment. There's a difference in investment versus cost, and then right on the back of that, Home and Sanctuary, Khadijah Taylor said the cost of trying to get out of a bad deal. And so, speaking to the idea that like there is a cost to not having the appropriate legal representation, and that it is an investment in your long-term vision, and so you want to stay abreast of that when you are in a space where you're like, look, I'm just trying to figure out how to even keep the doors open this week. This is why I really think it's important to have a strong network. Because when I ran my deal for Sister Biz for us to raise for our app, I had a really strong network of attorneys, some of them pro bono and just there to make sure we succeeded. I had over the years. Now I've paid for my services because there are things that you need to actually have done full legal services. In fact, Faith is our IP attorney right now, taking care of some stuff, in our growth phase as we think about our next stages and in some name change work we're doing for the nonprofit and stuff like that. But I also know that on my board, my board members, we always have an attorney on my board. You have kitchen cabinet where you have legal folks. And what they do is they kind of help you know when it's time to lawyer up and what your rights are and things to consider like in the early stages of doing certain things so that you avoid certain problems and things to think about. Like when I was first doing a nonprofit and a for-profit, I had 2 or 3 different attorneys supporting and giving me advice about how to separate certain things, in the companies and what it looked like to really cover, that CYA work. And so just tips and advice for things to do while I was setting up before I even needed any services. Those consultations that Kisha was talking about is really important, and having them in a variety of ways and being resourceful, like Faith said, is important.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Coach K. Oh, listen, it takes a village. And I love that our village is like, listen, you have to get your legal together because it is really, really important. And today's conversation is just that. So again, the comment section is open. If you have a question, please don't be afraid to ask your question and get an answer because this is really important business that we are looking at right now and talking about. So again, that's open. Kisha, go ahead. I see that you want to say something.
While we wait for a question to come in, I was just going to make add on to Faith's list of resources, and one of those is to budget. Right? Because oftentimes we come across legal and it's like, where am I going to get the money from? Because we haven't thought about it. But if we said at the beginning of the year, I'm going to put $400 to the side for twice a year. Now, this is my recommendation. If you are out here making money, you need to speak to an attorney twice a year. That ain't going to break your budget. If you can't afford $400, now that's maybe depending on where you are, it could be as low as $250, as high as $1,000 for that hour, that personal one-on-one time. But you really need to have that conversation with someone who can make sure that your liability is low, that you're not overexposed for risk, your contracts are okay. Maybe it's the right time for you to talk to an IP attorney because there are lots of different types of attorneys, right? One of my favorites that I have in the Justice Connection Network, we have attorneys who do it all, Black attorneys, and one is business succession planning, which we didn't even touch on that, and that's a whole other issue around whether you're in a partnership or you're a solo, and what happens if something happens to you? Or happens to your partner? Are you now in business with that partner's wife? Are you now owing all of the debt that person has? What happens, right? And again, we have just invested so much into our businesses that there are so many different ways that lawyers can help. You've got your intellectual property, you have your business attorneys who do everything from contracts, A different type of attorney might do a merger or a partnership or a joint venture. Different attorney might be on litigation if you have to go to court. As Faith mentioned, transactional, where it's very much like I don't want to say one time, but just what the name says, transactions, right? So there are many different immigration, depending on the type of employees you have, or HR. All of those things an attorney can help. So I think we got some questions, and I'll pause, but I want to share that there are many different types of attorneys as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So in the chat, we have HR Tailor Made is saying, I have a registered trademark. Is there anything I need to do to maintain it?
Absolutely. There are things to do to maintain your trademark. And of course, back to my disclaimer, I am an attorney. I am not your attorney. This is not legal advice to you. But 3 things to consider after you register your trademark are, number 1, monitoring it to make sure that no one is using an infringing trademark or one that's too close to yours. Because if they are, you don't stop it, you have abandoned your trademark and could essentially lose your registration. So ensure, first and foremost, that you are monitoring your trademark for confusingly similar ones. That term, confusingly similar, is a term of art in the legal industry. It doesn't necessarily mean what you think it does, and things that you would be surprised to learn are confusingly similar are indeed confusingly similar. So if you don't have an attorney who is monitoring your trademark for you, that's step number 1. You also want to make sure that you keep on top of your renewal filings, because they do come up periodically. Trademarks can be renewed indefinitely, but you do have to make your filings on time. So be sure to look into what those dates are for your trademark. The USPTO will tell you when you have to renew, but make sure that your info is updated so that you get the notice when it comes out. You also want to make sure you're using your trademark properly as you apply for it, exactly as you apply for it, because again, changing how you use a trademark can also result in someone claiming you have abandoned your trademark rights and should therefore lose your trademark registration. So those 3 things are key. I have a YouTube video on my channel about this, about what to do after your trademark is approved, explaining in more detail what those 3 items are. And I'll put that in the chat if folks are interested in watching.
Yeah, I want to kind of speak to some of the stuff that Kisha said in terms of the budgeted thing. I think Coach Anita is on here too, so she probably over there hooting and hollering that this is the best thing to say. Right. But I do think that when you're strategic planning annually, it is important to think about the legal services you need, just like you would any other services you need for your business. And so really thinking about, like, who am I hiring? What kind of contracts will I need to draft? And how much would it cost to have an attorney help me draft my contract templates and that sort of thing? That's something that I put aside money for before. I think it's also important to think about, like, the trademark stuff and the copywriting. Am I producing any documents that need IP protection or anything that is going to need protection this year? And really thinking about that. And I think that, name change stuff, all that kind of thing, like all the stuff that Kisha named, any HR issues, employment law. If you're hiring, if you have a team and you're a new employer, understanding compliance and what you need to do around contractors versus employers and all the things is super important. And so just think about, what am I doing in the coming year that has some legal implications associated with it that mean I should go visit an attorney as I get this in order. So don't just launch the project and think about the logistics of the product and the team of the product and the technology of the product. Think about the legalities of the project too, and really try to, seek out as much information as you can and plan in that way too. You want to cover your butt. You don't want to create stuff that gets taken from you. You don't want to create stuff that gets you landed in court and you don't even know how to save yourself or help yourself. So you want to think about that stuff ahead, because often the setup of those things can be done in a smart way to protect you. And so if you build it and then you go and be reactive to the legalities, it can hurt you.
That's right. Thank you for that, Coach K. And that is what this episode is about today. Just CYA, and with the help of legal professionals, right? Ladies, I know that there's so much that we didn't cover, and I just appreciate what we were able to cover. And I do know that the both of you do have a little bit of a go home, a takeaway for us. And Faith, I'll let you go ahead and explain what you have. I do understand that you have a quiz, and just let us know what that is. Yeah.
Yes. So the quiz that will be shared with you all is a trademark really right for you? It's for folks who are on the fence about whether to pursue trademark protection. And when you complete the quiz, you get a little guide that's custom for you that helps you to understand what trademark protection is, when you might need to consider it in your business. It's meant to be something that helps you to think about your next steps prior to talking to an attorney, right? Because some folks get on a legal consultation to figure out, should I get a trademark, right? And before you do that, this kind of quiz can be helpful for you to figure out, do you have something that you can even get a trademark registration for? And then if you can, then what things should you be considering as part of the timeline within which you should seek protection? So that is the quiz and the gift to you all that I hope that you will make use of.
Absolutely. Thank you, Faith, for that. And Kisha, can you let us know about what you have for us today?
Sure. So I welcome everyone to follow us and to subscribe to Justice Connection. We don't spam, but we do try to put out a number of different helpful guides. So I wasn't able to send you the link for the guide on how to hire the right lawyer. But if you subscribe, you get it. So we didn't have a separate form for that. But if you subscribe, you get it. We send a monthly newsletter chock full of new attorneys and tips and insight that every business owner can use. I also launched, it's called Path to Profit. It's legal strategies for successful business owners. And it was really designed with Sister Biz members in mind, because oftentimes we do talk about like, who do you pick? And do I need an attorney full time? And just being able to get regular legal insight is so critical. And so I developed it at a really low price point, and I bring on all the amazing Black attorneys that I know every month to talk about different things. So we've talked about business succession planning, we broke down contracts, and next month we'll be talking about intellectual property. So, and then we'll also be hitting HR and all the things. So I definitely welcome folks to look into that as well. And I just want to give a shout out. I saw Chubby Curls on there. We met at the Sister Biz Gold Digger Conference, and I saw your question. Please hit me up in my DMs or follow up, especially even with Faith's quiz. You should do that as well. But I saw your question around the picture, and it looks like a big red flag. So I think you need to, I'm happy to talk to you about that a little bit further and brainstorm with you on that. Just wanted to make note of that. But this has been amazing. This is, if I may, I so appreciate Coach K and her vision for Sister Biz, and Candace Porter. You have amazing energy and wisdom that you have shared on this call. And Faith has just been, it's having an intellectual property attorney, they are very specialized, right? So Faith goes very deep into what she knows. So if you don't have a trademark, I would recommend I have not taken a quiz, so she's not paying me to say take the quiz, but you need to take the quiz and get whatever information you can, because if you are now selling your buns outside of your basement and you're doing something, or you've got to think about protecting your IP. Right. Mm-hmm. And I know that many of you have courses and getting copyright. Copyright is a lot cheaper than trademark. Right. Yeah. So everything isn't going to be thousands of dollars. So but we got to do something. You've got some resources that have been shared. We have to move forward, and we got to support one another. You've got to support one another.
We do. And thank you, ladies, so much for coming and supporting our community and just giving us what we need in terms of legal. Really, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And Coach K, before I let our beautiful legal experts go, is there anything that you'd like to say?
I would like to say that Faith is going to be doing office hours for us. And when we finally get set up, she's been waiting for me. Kisha and I are looking at things that we can do to partner. We have been, and we're due for our discussion for finally getting those things launched. I was really focused on getting the app up and running, our learning community to suite, and really putting all of our systems in place around that. And now it's time for me to turn my attention to a number of subject matter experts that will be supporting the Sister Biz community. So if you didn't get your question answered today, know there will be opportunities to connect with both of these ladies in the future, as well as reach out to them directly support them directly. We have to support our Black lawyers. We have to support our Black attorneys. They are doing the good work. They are doing the good work. I have to say that. And it's important because a lot of times, Kisha kind of brought this up yesterday, but we think a lot about like, oh, we're going through it and we can't afford legal services. And our attorneys are on the other side, like going through it like nobody can afford us, she said. So, just remember to refer business to our Black women attorneys, and to remember them as opportunities come up in your boardrooms, in your corporate spaces, in your network. Be sure to refer business to our attorneys and to keep them engaged when there's opportunities available to tap into their genius and leverage them and hire them. So thank you so much, ladies, for coming and for supporting Sister Biz always. And I'm excited that we got this time with you today.
Absolutely. Yes. And just one more thing, the links to their either their quiz or their lead magnet will also be in the YouTube channel as well. So just in case you missed it, but ladies, thank you so much. And we'll be seeing you around in these Sister Biz streets.
Yes, thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, Coach K. Woo, honey. Our guests, Faith and Kisha, were amazing. I'm so glad that we had opportunity to have this really, really important conversation. I just want to do a quick recap, really quick, okay? We're going to protect our contracts, trademarks, and business assets, okay? We're going to stay on top of policy changes that can impact your business, and we're going to get the right legal support in place. We have 2 women that were on here today that's going to help us stay covered, all right? So I'm just taking a deep breath because sometimes we got to do that, okay? Because this is a hard conversation for some people. Like they get scared when it comes to legal. And so I just wanted to just acknowledge that and say, we just got to breathe through the hard and do it still, right? We got to breathe and move.
Do it scared.
Do it scared, okay? We doing it scared this year. That's what we're doing. So, Coach K, I just want to just do a little bit of housekeeping, if you may. If you're not a member, like I said earlier today, hit the subscribe button, all right? On this YouTube, you're right on YouTube. Go over, hit subscribe. And also, if you're not a part of the Facebook Sister Biz community, please go there and get plugged in with us. We are having a fine time over there. Ladies, it is still Spring Clean My Business Month. And also, we're getting into the subscription society. And Coach, I actually want you to just talk about that real quick. Can you talk to us about what's going on with the subscription society?
Yeah, so Sister Biz is always talking to our members about what it looks like to create, not just bring money into your business, but to bring profit into your business, meaning you don't just bring in revenue and make sales, but you actually, after all costs are made, you take home money. And so it's beyond revenue to profit, and then not just profit, but it's beyond profit to predictable profit. And that means that you put a business model in place and you put strategies in place that allow you to be able to in a very strong way predict that the revenue is coming in, that the profit is coming in. And that is a process. As you build your business and you put your funnels into place and you just design your business model, there are things you can do to make your business more predictable. One of them is recurring revenue models, or subscription-based or membership-based models are an example of recurring revenue. And the reason that creates predictability is because you are able to lock in a sale with someone who is now committed to paying you over time on an ongoing basis. And so that creates a predictability because those dollars are coming in. Now, of course, there's churn and turnover and things like that to be concerned about. But beyond that, you have this predictable source of revenue coming in. And so we're really focusing on all the elements of predictability. Subscription-based businesses is one. And so we're creating what's called Subscription Society for our businesses who are in the Sister Biz Network who have subscription-based or membership-based models to help them understand that revenue model, help them understand what it takes to sustain and grow that type of model. It's not the same type of cash flow management. It's not the same type of marketing. There are a lot of things you have to think about when you are trying to sustain and retain a community, a membership, and a subscriber. And so thinking about what that looks like is important. There's a lot of new research on the books now, and it's becoming a saturated space. So some people with subscriptions right now are seeing a dip because we're kind of becoming a little desensitized to subscriptions and a little bit more hip to them. And so our consumer bases, that is. And so you're struggling maybe to retain and keep people on. And so there are very intentional things you can do to make sure that your subscription model is succeeding. And we're just going to mastermind on that. We're going to dial in. We're going to bring resources to the subscription society, have really deep conversations about, am I doing tier pricing? Am I doing membership? What's the difference between membership and subscription? What's the difference between tiered versus, other types of pricing models? What am I thinking about in terms of churn? How do I onboard my members? How do I make sure that they don't leave? What does it look like for me to create a program for them? And so there's just a lot of things that are membership and subscription specific that we're going to support each other in a mastermind setting.
Listen, Sister Biz ain't missing a beat. Do you hear me? You up with the times, current and relevant. I really do appreciate that, Coach K, that you are not leaving any dot. What do they say about the I and the dot or something like that? No I undotted. I don't know. We'll take that right there. But ladies, we will be back next Tuesday.
It's the T crossed in the I.
Oh, thank you because did you see how lost I was? Like, Candace, are you gonna get it together or are you not? So we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Thank you so much. Boom. So okay, ladies, we're gonna be back next Tuesday. I cannot wait to get into next Tuesday. We bringing in the money team, okay? The money team is coming in. They coming in hot, ready, okay? So we talking about this shmoney, all right? So we're coming in next week, same time, same place, and we are so excited to be able to present this to you next week. Again, ladies, please make sure you're taking care of yourselves. RSVP for the event next week, and we will see you in these Sister Biz streets. See you later. Bye-bye.